You in this battle, man, I'll soon be dead. I'll glue your face to my dick so I can fuck with your head. I got metaphors coming through my pores. You probably never been in a battle before, so I hope you realize your mistake. There ain't no party, got some candles, this won't be a piece of cake.
Folks, welcome to the Before Hours podcast, an internet radio phenomenon hosted by an occasional morning person. I ask the most interesting people I know about their sleep, their routine, life, love, stress, and setbacks. If you want to talk to us, you can find us at our email address, the beforehourspodcast@gmail.com, or slide into my DMs, Bobby Sheehan, LOL, on Instagram. But for now, comedian, a funny man, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, a good man, Nick Tilleli. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. A good man. I appreciate that.
You know what? Sorry, Maxim, can we cut all that? A great man. Don't actually cut all that, Maxim. Dude,
Yeah,
I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here too, but I do want to finish our conversation before the mics got turned on.
Nick noticed that my shoulders aren't as developed as they could be, and only a good friend would tell me that.
Yes.
So how do I fix my shoulders?
Well, I don't know. I just figured that you would do more research to figure it out. Your friend's a bodybuilder after all. Did he ever suggest anything to you about?
Oh, you know what? When he was on the podcast, I didn't ask him any advice. I mostly, maybe I should have.
Yeah, I figured that's what. Okay. No, but you know what? I respect that it's all about you today.
It's all about me.
Yeah. No, the guest, not you. I'm saying when the people are on here, it's not about what you can get from them. It's about what you want to hear.
Can I be honest
themselves.
though, Nick? I have messaged Nick Simmons, a mutual friend of ours, who is jacked. And but he's also a personal trainer in addition to being a comedian. And I feel like this is very rude, but I sometimes, within reason, will DM him workout questions. And because he's very nice, he does answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I asked him workout questions, but I didn't sign up for his program, so he didn't answer any of the questions I asked.
Okay.
Fuck you, Nick Simmons.
Yeah, Nick Simmons, you are on notice. Just
That's
kidding.
right.
He's going to be on the podcast one day.
Bring me in. I kind of want to talk to him about that. I
Just ambush him?
Yeah. I would come behind the curtain like, oh, look who it is.
like a WWE.
Yeah.
Like it's me and him, and all of a sudden your intro music plays.
Yeah. And I'm holding a bunch of papers, and it's all the questions. It's the printout of the DMs he didn't answer.
Hell yeah, dude. I love that. You know what? We should, it's a fun podcast, I think, this podcast, but there hasn't been enough drama.
Yeah.
I should have some drama. You know what I mean?
I'm very big at causing drama. I get that from my mom, I think.
Really?
Yeah, because I grew up. I talk about this on stage, but it's true. My mom, single mother, and my aunt, lesbian, two very dramatic people, and it's so. But the last podcast I was on before yours, he ambushed me. Don't think I forgot about the shoulders, by the way. But I'm gonna deviate from a little bit.
I will never forget about my shoulders.
That's right. Bobby can fit into any hole.
Like a burrow owl.
Yeah, exactly. Like a mouse, they can fit into any little crevice. But the previous podcast that I was on, he ambushed me. He didn't tell me. I don't know. He might have just been not thinking, but his podcast co-host quit a week before he had me on. Okay. So he brings me to his apartment, and as soon as I get up a 5-story walk up, no elevator. And he's just like, oh yeah, by the way, it's just gonna be me and you today. And I was like, what happened? He goes, oh, my podcast co-host quit about 3 weeks ago. But he messaged me on the app. He didn't change any information. He messaged me on his Instagram with them two as a profile picture. And I know his co-host, and I don't know him. I know, what a shitty thing to do. So I spent the entire hour grilling on him on why they broke up and to get into his side of the story. And in the middle of it, I called his co-host to ask him his side of the story, and he hung up on me.
Oh, geez.
I know. I caused drama. So my point being is, I love drama. I don't know how my mind always just seems to get into the juiciest. I'm never concerned about the person, just the situation with the individuals.
It's honestly, it's unhealthy how much I enjoy, as the kids say, the tea. But I love the tea, Nick.
I know. I've been trying to stay away from the tea though, because the tea it fucks with your brain.
Well, the thing is like gossiping. For our older listeners that don't know what the tea is, it means gossiping.
I like that you look at the camera because it's not just me and you; it's the audience.
It's the audience, dude. I'm the Jim Halpert of podcasting. I like to make a little face every once in a while.
Can I be Pam?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, why did you think I had you on the podcast? Dude, Jim Halpert, by the way, a little bit. I know he got the girl at the end, but he was more Gen Z slang, simping for a while. You know, I feel like if I was Jim Halpert's friend, after like a week of him being like, my coworker has a fiance and I love her, and I was like, why don't you just get on Bumble, dude? You know, like relax. Like Jim Halpert, you're like 6'2", you know what I mean? You have a full head of hair, you have good cheekbones. You have, I'm gay, guys. Yeah.
Wait, we were deviating from the original point, which was about gossiping and how bad it is for you. And you were about to say something.
Oh, just in general, like I love gossiping, but it is bad. Like when I'm talking about something that I've heard about somebody else, or someone is telling me something they've heard about somebody else, I feel the same as like when I'm eating like ice cream. I'm like, this is nice, but I can't do this all the time. You know what I mean?
It's funny you say that because we both arrived here early, and I think probably within the first 3 minutes of us talking, you threw some hot gossip on me.
Oh, some hot gossip.
You did.
Oh, yeah, dude.
You immediately got into, I'm like, and I respect that because honestly, I think gossip is like, to me, I think it's almost currency for somebody. It's like it's showing someone you trust them, right? Like I know I could trust you, which is I felt comfortable when you opened up to me about you hosting at a certain area, right? And immediately went into it, and then I was just like, it makes me feel like I'm your friend. You're like, I'm willing to throw dirt onto somebody else. Now I'm also a covert
narcissist.
I'm coming out though. I'm gonna be an overt narcissist. But I just like talking shit in a whole spectrum, you know, and it's less about the individual I'm talking shit about and more about how great is this conversation we're having at the expense of the person who's not here.
It is, dude. Yeah, it's fun. And I do think it establishes trust. It's like when two samurais bow all the way down.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you could stab me in the back if you want, but I know you're not going to.
Yeah. Fuck, that's so funny. It is that.
So yeah, the drama is exciting, and working on your shoulders is exciting, Nick. So what's the advice? Because I'm gonna go ahead and say it. You got great shoulders.
Thank you.
It's a homoerotic podcast. You guys.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
no, I knew coming in. But I think, well, the thing is like, what have you done?
So.
I think we should start there. Maybe we can work backwards from that.
Oh man, you had like St. Peter at the gates vibe for that one. You're like, all right, well, make the case.
Yeah.
Make the case. We'll see. So my journey. When I started working out, it was full body every other day because I'm not a crazy guy. You know what I mean? But then after a while, you get the newbie gains. And for me, I didn't know what newbie gains were. So I'm like, I'm just going to keep getting bigger and stronger for the rest of my life. But that's not how it works. Because after a year, your body gets acclimated, right? So yeah, I have a 4-day split. I have an entire day dedicated to shoulders. Which translates to like a half hour to 45 minutes of shoulders. And then I do abs because I'm very vain and I want abs. But I do lateral raises. I do 4 sets of 12. And I usually do 10 to 12 pound dumbbells, which is, I mean, it looks comical, but lateral raises are hard to do more weight. You know what I mean? Then I do the shoulder press machine. I do farmer walks, about 50 pounds, just like a minute and a half around the gym. That's the most stressful exercise, by the way, because it's predicated on everyone like,
Because you got a dick in a pig's ass while you're doing it? Isn't that the farmer's walk? Isn't that a farmer's walk?
That's why they call it farmer walks, folks. Yeah, it's hard to carry weight on each side of you while you're also orgasming. You know what I mean?
Of course.
That's the challenge.
Yeah.
You know, because you got 50 pounds on each side and you got about 5 ounces in the other. I don't know how many ounces a penis is. I assumed a inch per ounce, but I don't know if that's a good conversion. But no, that's stressful because you have to trust everyone. We talked about trust before. you're walking around, you're a bit handicapped. Like you're not as agile as you otherwise could be. So you have to trust that people aren't going to like bump into you. And in New York City and at the New York City Planet Fitness specifically, people are not paying attention. You got black guys singing rap lyrics to themselves. You know, you have old men that are they do the 1 rep max and then they kind of just like walk around. I love that, by the way. I think I've said this on the podcast before, but an old man or an older, like a middle-aged man or older who's fat as hell and is for some reason really focused on being as strong as possible. I think that's a cool guy. I'm jealous because to me, it's all vanity.
Yeah, of course. Well, I don't know. Being at his age or just working out in general?
No, for me, I'm sorry. For me, I'm working out. It does make me feel good, and it is a healthy thing to do. But it's mostly I like working on how I look. Right? To me, this is how far I don't care about strength. Is that if you were to tell me, like, how do I put this? If you do this exercise, it only does strength and it doesn't do hypertrophy at all, I'd be like, I'm never doing that exercise. I just don't care. Like a person to me that's like, they're like, I'm very strong. It's almost like they're like, I'm one of the best blacksmiths you've ever seen. I'm like, well, that would have been useful, years ago, but now.
It's interesting that you're saying that you actually think of what it does to you aesthetically working out. I don't see you as that kind of guy, mostly because of the sideburns you have. I didn't think you cared about.
You're looking at these are like, I'm sorry, you care about how you look?
Is that? Yeah, exactly. Like leftover carpet was just. No. I don't totally disagree with you because I there is a confidence that comes with, but it's weird. I don't know what to associate it with. I mean, I do like the fact. My girlfriend likes the fact that I'm in great shape, and I feel good knowing. Listen to me, that I'm in fantastic shape. I am in better shape than I was, so I guess that makes it fantastic.
You and I have the same thing where if we say something even a little bit nice about ourselves, we're like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, excuse me, I didn't mean it. But I don't know if it's that or whatever. Like, what makes you feel the best? Is it like being aesthetically pleasing to the eye, or the fact that I did all this? There's like a confidence in first accomplishing it. Like I just spent the day doing this. I know it was a good workout, and I feel good from just doing it. Because even that, to me, I think maybe when I was younger, it was probably more about being like attractive. But now it's just like, can I fight the demons? Can I put on an hour of Joe Rogan montage on my YouTube page and just go through, which I can, and I'm impressed by it some days. But I still don't want to leave the shoulders, and I can tell you what I think might help you.
Okay.
And this changed the game for me too, was I just incorporated the chest and shoulder workout, and I just doubled up on both. And so what I would say is you're going to go to, you can use dumbbells. You can just, do a regular chest dumbbell exercise, right? Then keep moving the chair up and you're going to do 3. Well, I do 4 sets of 12. You can just push as much as you can. And that way you're kind of expanding your chest more, and it will make you have a wider top. Right. And because you're not saying that you don't have a great chest. I think you're in tremendous shape. This is, I don't know how this became, how can we fix it? But I think it could help. I don't know. I know you might be looking at me like I did all that shit and it doesn't fucking work. Because I know I have that conversation with people too. But I've noticed that when I focused on the chest and then extended all the way to where I was doing dumbbell raise, like shoulder raises, that it became one full workout. And then I would do rear delts, and I just felt myself get wider doing that. And I know it would help you because you got biceps, man. You deserve to feel that way. You look great. You look I haven't seen you in a while. We only saw each other just recently, but besides that, I used to see you like pretty frequently. This is the best I've ever seen you. So I don't know what you're doing.
Maxim, can we cut this? Can we cut this part? Just
please.
People are watching it. They're like, this isn't funny at all. I'm like, some people enjoy watching it.
Yes. Some people need to hear this.
Some people listen to it on a loop before they fall asleep.
That's hilarious.
Well, I appreciate that because what's the saying? And I forget who said it, but it was like, you can't compare yourself to other people. You could only compare yourself to your past self.
There you go.
And dude, if I compare myself to my past self, that's great because that guy sucks.
Yeah, 100%.
That guy's not good at stand up. That guy's not good at a lot of things, you know? So yeah, cool. Yeah. How often do you go to the gym, by the way?
I try to do 3 or 4 times a week. But it sometimes it gets away with me. Now it just got nicer, and so once it get nicer, I start becoming like such a piece of shit. I just start smoking again, cigarettes. I haven't smoked in years, but when it got it's nice on the roof. Let me you know what make this even better? A cigarette. You know what make this even better? Some Entenmann's donuts.
Yeah. You know, I like summers. You know what I should do? Ensure I have less summers.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I try to be as consistent as I can. But fucking, you know, the schedule's hectic. Just doing everything else is a pain in the dick.
Yeah.
But who gives a shit, right? What do we fucking, you know? I'll tell you, I wish I had a home workout set. I would definitely accomplish more. Everyone's like, you think that, and then until then it's there, and then you're sitting there doing nothing. It's like, that's not true at all. I go to the gym, and it sucks. Planet Fitness, especially. I drop them. I go to Blink now, which is, it's not too bad, but there's just as many people there. Yeah. It's a frustrating thing doing a gym in New York City.
I went to a Blink Fitness. Well, a few times I've been to Blink Fitness. When I moved apartments, there was a Blink Fitness right near me, and I had quit my day job, so I'm like, it's right near me, and I'm going to be free during the day. But I live in the Bushwick neighborhood of Brooklyn, so no one has a regular job. It's like you know, the gentrifiers that work from home and like the Hispanics that don't have traditional 9-to-5s. So I went there at noon being like, I'm going to have the, you know, all the bench to myself. I could be there for as long as I want. And it was like the Times Square of gyms. I was like, I can't, like, I mean, we lived here for a while. We're used to crowds, but even myself, I was like, this is too much. I need to breathe a little.
The crowd, when we're out in the world, we can get around them. I actually need to wait for you to be done doing what you're doing, and I am at the helm of other people, which sucks. But when I lived in Sunset Park, I was going to a Planet Fitness, and it was a mostly Hispanic area, and there was this weird etiquette that was put into place by the community that we all had to abide by. As in, if there's 5 people waiting for a machine and the first 2 who got there first waiting for a machine are men, but the third one is a woman, the woman gets priority for the machine before the rest of the men do.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm over here like, what do you mean? That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, hey, be respectful, hombre. It's like, this is how we do things. I'm like, fuck you, you know? So I hated Planet Fitness from that. I was at war with Planet Fitness for a long while. But yeah. Well, what's your gym? And this might go into what we want to discuss, which I'm dying to discuss. What is your gym headphone? What's in your head?
Oh, yes. It's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I listen to rap music exclusively at the gym. And I like other types of music, but there's something about, especially, you know, the era that I am the most fond of, the late 90s, early aughts, the gangster rap mostly, like that gets me pumped. You know what I mean? I have a joke about it in my act that like, I love listening to music about killing your enemies while I try to squat 80 pounds.
That's hilarious.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which actually doesn't really work. You know why? Because there seems to be 2 types of people that don't go to the gym and don't know what squatting 80 pounds looks like. You know, they're like, I don't see why that's funny. And then there's people that go to the gym and they're all like, good for you, bro. You put in, it doesn't matter. We all have our journey. You know what I mean? Yeah. So no one's laughing at it. They either don't get it and they're like, keep at it, bro.
Yeah. 80. All right. Is that good? Is it bad? Yeah.
But yeah, you and I, Nick, are big stans. And the original stans. Dude, I dated this girl who was a little younger than me, pretty cool. And she actually said to me, I just learned this recently. She says, stan, the expression comes from an Eminem song. And I'm like, that's crazy. That's crazy that you didn't know that. So yeah.
Well, interesting you said stan, because I was listening to, I hate Jay-Z. I know it's not a great thing to say. People always,
I kind of don't want drama in the podcast if you can. Yeah. Because I might have him on. I don't want this to be a thing. You know?
It's not that I hate him, if I'm going to get down to it. It's just that I feel like he was overwhelmingly loved for some reason. So I listen to Jay-Z songs, but I don't go fucking yo Jay. Like, yeah, okay. Everyone's like, it's so funny. You can't like dislike somebody without somebody calling you a hater. So it's like I was never gonna have Jay-Z success. It's not like I'm looking at him like that. That should be me. Fuck him. You know.
I should be fucking Beyonce right now.
That's what I'm saying. You know. But I don't know. So anyway, but the only reason I bring that up is because I was listening to. Sometimes I get into modes where if like I'll see an article and I'll see like Jay-Z and I just put on Ether by Nas.
Yeah.
Just to feel like, yeah, that's what I think of this. But at one point he called Jay-Z, and I don't recognize. It's so funny how sometimes you just catch things years later. But he called him a stan to himself, saying like, you're a stan to me.
Yeah.
So it's like, how far back because I feel like in only the past 5-6 years, maybe just since the MGK and Eminem beef, did Stan become part of the vernacular when referring to an Eminem fan. So I'm thinking like, how far back does it date? We're in like the early 2000s, was that 2004, I would say, 2003 when Nas dissed Jay-Z, that they're referring to him. There's nothing better than two white guys on a couch talking Letterman style about the beef between Nas and Jay-Z. But
they were wildin'.
Yeah, they be wildin'. But how long ago has Stan been a thing? Do you even know that? Because I couldn't think back.
I think
was as soon as the song came out.
There's a lot of things that are like said by rappers that become expressions like 10 years later. Because I think Ether came out shortly after the Marshall Mathers LP, which is the CD that Stan is on. And I think he might have been one of those first ones. And there's actually later on in the verse, he goes, Eminem murdered you on your own shit. So there's like a bit of a parallel there. But Sir Mix-a-Lot, I like Big Butts and I Cannot Lie. He uses the word simp in that song. And that song is from like 85 or something like that. You know, like that song came out before I was born. And I mean, I just became aware of the word simp like a few years ago. I know it's probably existed longer than that. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of a weird thing.
It's funny you say that because I was just watching 16 Candles with my girlfriend. And at one point, whatever the things take place where, you know, the sister's not respected as the rest of them and blah, blah, blah. And so the parent goes to the brother with the sister in the room. We forgot your sister's birthday. And then he looks at her and goes, classic. And I'm like, they've been saying that since the 80s? Like, I was like, damn, I felt old. Yeah, but.
Classic. Yeah. And speaking of classics, I mean, the Marshall Mathers LP is a classic.
It is a classic.
But we had a conversation, this is years ago, but I remember it, because I ask everybody that's a stan what their favorite album is. And most people our age, early 30s, will say either the Marshall Mathers LP or the Eminem Show. People younger might say Relapse or Recovery. No one says Revival. But you said the Slim Shady LP. Yeah, thank you. It's just some mic control.
Oh, okay.
On my end.
On your end? Oh, it's funny because I was moving it the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Slim Shady LP is, to me, is Slim Shady LP and what's the song? What's the fifth one?
If you say Infinite, I'm going to lose my mind.
No, Slim Shady LP, and I was listening to it on the way here because I wanted to get in tune with myself at that point. That it was pure, like what I felt like I was going through at the age of when I was listening to that, which probably was I was only in third grade, but I had the angst of an 18-year-old, you know.
And, like I also want to kill my ex-wife and dump her in Michigan Lake
and rape my mom.
You're like, I don't even know what rape is, but
that
bitch
my mom
gives me a bedtime.
Yeah, exactly. But all those songs, it probably actually kind of like it. I remember it helping me feel like, okay, cool, I feel this way about everyone around me too. Or it gave context to feelings that I shouldn't have by just filling in the blanks by the words that he was feeling. But that song, Brain Damage, is probably one of my favorite songs of all time. You know, I mean, it had all the classics that you'd want in there. I mean, you have My Name Is, Brain Damage, even his sad songs, Rock Bottom.
Dude, Rock Bottom. The first verse, I feel like I'm walking a tightrope without a Percocet. Or without a circus net, popping Percocet. I'm a nervous wreck. Dude, what this is the whole podcast. Is anyone still listening?
You started, I finished the verse through. That's hilarious.
Yeah, but that describes, first of all, it's the only album where he talks about being poor.
Yeah.
Because he obviously couldn't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after that, he could talk about how he used to be poor. But those were the only songs where he's like, I'm broke and here's what it's like. And that's great.
I know, but he's like, I can still kill a bitch and I hate my mom. Which is, I think that's another thing too. I hated my mom when I was younger, and I was like, yeah, someone else feels this way too. It's such a child. I think that's what like helps you like kind of bond to it. It's just like, this guy is honest enough how he feels about his mother. I'm like, you're not supposed to love her. I think that he actually made me enemies with my mother. I probably didn't have a reason to be. And then I was just like, yeah. She also puts drug in my Cheerios. Never did that ever. made me breakfast, even helped pick out my clothes in the morning. And I was like, fuck this bitch, you know? Punching holes in the walls. It probably, honestly, as much as I love Eminem, I'm pretty sure that he ruined the relationship between me and my mother. If I'm honest.
Yeah. Well, he wrote an apology song to his mom, so maybe you gotta.
I know. I just sent it to her. I'm like, this
is how I feel.
We're cool now.
Yeah. That's, but I think, because people talk about his popularity when he first came out, and some of it, possibly even most of it, was like, here's a guy that's really great and he's white. And that is certainly part of it. But also the things he was rapping about, like, I've never sold drugs, but I have been mad at my mom. You know what I mean? I've never been in a gang, but I have been heartbroken. You know what I mean? And there's other rappers that talk about personal stuff, but that was the first time where he was like, just this angsty, I'm angry, and it's unflattering. Like, the way he talks about himself is not flattering a lot of the time. He got into that braggadocious stuff later. You know, a lot of the new stuff, you know, the rappity rap stuff is like, I'm rich, I'm famous, I get pussy a lot of the time. But his early stuff was like, I'm not rich, I'm not famous, I'm tired of fucking the same blonde whore in the back of a Contour, you know. And I'm listening to that as a 12-year-old, and I'm like, I'm tired of fucking the same blonde whore in the back of a Contour.
Yeah, I couldn't relate to this more, honestly. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I actually didn't have sex till much later, but you know, the listeners know what I mean.
But it's funny watching him. Like, he's obviously he might be even autistic to a degree too. Cause like, you ever watch him in interviews when people ask him a question, he kind of just raises his eyebrows and just looks off for a second. And I feel like in that moment, because of the way he is artistically, that when people ask him like, oh, how does it feel to be the best selling artist in this century? And when he hears words, he can't help but rhyme. Right in front of them, but he can't say it out loud, like the century, I'm gonna be pen to re, like whatever. And then he just pauses because you see him kind of fade out, and then he comes back in and he goes, good. You know, and that's why he's like a one-word dude. That's what makes me. But I think that's kind of makes him so fucking talented, because, and only to the point that he kind of raps how he feels. I think he's like a comedian where he takes in the entire world, and it becomes like it's something he just chops up and puts into a thing. If I were to totally speculate with zero information and not knowing a man, just watching like 4 clips of him on ET and thinking that's who he is.
I relate to it a little bit because it's an insult in the comedy community to say that somebody's always on. But I'm like, I'm a silly goose. I'm not saying I'm the Eminem of comedy, folks. But that is how my brain is always like, I'm looking for puns. I'm looking for a joke based on what anybody is saying. You know what I mean? And I think some comedians, they're like, this guy's always on. I'm like, have you tried being on ever?
Yeah.
Are you ever on? You know, I don't know.
But also, you're like, I'm trying to have fun. We're at a comedy show. Where else am I supposed to be on? Like, you come see me at the gym. I'm not going to look you in the face. But we're literally at a comedy show. Can I joke around with you for a little bit? You
know what kind of bums me out a little bit? And this is going to make me sound like such a fucking boomer. But like, at the back of the comedy show, a lot of the times, it's people on their phones.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, obviously, you know, we're at a show. It's not necessarily like, you know, Louis or Chappelle on stage, you know, it's our peers. And a lot of times they're saying stuff we've heard before, but I'm like, get a feel of the room at least. You know what I mean? You have all night you have the train ride home. You have before you go to bed, you could look at Instagram, you could look at Reddit, you could look at Twitter. Like, there's something happening right now.
I'm right here.
Yeah.
You know, there's something happening right in front of you.
Yeah. It's a weird thing, but I'm excited for the Death of Slim Shady to come out this summer. I will tell you that because, okay, so we record a little far in advance. So this is coming out like 6 weeks from now, but I should mention that this is a few days after the NFL draft. Did you watch the NFL draft?
No, I didn't watch the NFL draft.
It's do you know the story?
No, I don't.
That's how. So Eminem came out during the NFL draft and was like, "I have a new album coming out." And then that trailer on Instagram came out like almost instantaneously.
Oh, okay.
So this is like a new rollout that Paul Rosenberg is doing.
Yeah, because he's been, sticking his beak into football shit,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought you were gonna say Paul Rosenberg has been sticking his beak, and I was gonna be like, "Be careful, Nick.
No,
Be careful."
No. Of course, I would never besmirch the genius of Paul Rosenberg.
Hell yeah, dude.
No matter what's going on in this state right now. Do you know what's funny? I actually, speaking of real quick, because I just thought it was ridiculous. If we're totally gonna get off topic, I live in Brooklyn, and I was getting off of the subway, and I saw, I looked up into the window, and there was a printed piece of paper that someone put from, like, I guess, like a Word document, and it just says "ceasefire now," which already I felt like, is that it? Are we all done now? But and then like weeks went by. I popped off of that same subway, and I came back, and now was now underlined as if like, are they not getting my message right now? It's so funny, the lack of what they're willing to do. But like, what are you on the phone? Like, I've heard what's happening, and I'm gonna take care of it. You know, fucking hilarious. I love living here so much. I know you're from Jersey too. I'm from Long Island. Yeah. Since moving here, life has been so much better. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, it's more fun. Yeah. Although I love going to another city where it's not quite as chaotic. Like I was in Chicago, I was in Detroit, and I was like, these are big cities, but I do feel like when I walk outside, I don't have to prepare myself. You know what I mean? Like mentally, to be like, all right, well, in the next hour, at least one person is going to bump into me because they're not paying attention to where they're going. You know what I mean? We're just 8 million people in this tiny little place. But
I'm surprised the guy with just small shoulders can get bumped into so easily.
Actually, I have small shoulders on purpose because I'm tired of people bumping into me.
Because you're trying to maneuver through the city.
Dude. Yeah. One of my biggest pet peeves is like when I'm walking down the street and they're walking while texting, which I never do because that's like, you're gonna step in dog shit or you're gonna trip. You know what I mean? Just stop, text, keep walking. But we're walking on opposite sides of each other, and they're doing almost like they're going side to side on the sidewalk because you can't walk in a straight line and do something else. And then I'm just like, there's been times where I'm like, hey, excuse me. And they look at me like, why are you bothering me? I'm like, you're taking up the whole sidewalk, dude. I have sort of little things about how I think everyone should behave, which is unlikable.
That's fine. You should. It's funny. I just watched you do what I did on the other thing. Wow, that's annoying. I do that pretty frequently. Because you made a great point. It's interesting. You know what? We got to dissect what just happened, just for the sake of us becoming better people.
Okay.
Can I speculate what happened as a person who experiences the same thing as you? Did you feel this story may not be going anywhere? I better bring it on how much I suck. So you're almost being a martyr for the sake of the story.
Martyr for the sake of the story is definitely part of it, and also I felt myself being a little sanctimonious.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, I think a lot of my thoughts teeter between why can't everyone be like me and why can't I be like everyone else? You know what I mean? And they will alter widely between one and the other.
And you're afraid to say they should be a certain way because you're going to yourself, well, who am I?
Yeah,
you grew up Catholic, right?
Yes.
Every person is like, even if you're not a practicing Catholic, the mentality that these people have that was passed down to us through generations is the most toxic. You're a piece of shit always, and don't ever forget that. And if anyone else says otherwise, don't believe them, And then my mom wonders why I drifted towards Eminem.
But the theology behind Catholicism is like, you have original sin, and Jesus died for you, which was very nice of him, but it is your fault.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
There's and my mom is less religious than she used to be, but there's still this magnet on the refrigerator, and it's Jesus on the cross, and a sentence that says, when Christ was on the cross, you were on his mind. And it's equal parts like self-aggrandizing and self-effacing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, I'm so important that God had to die for me, but I'm so sinful that God had to die for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't let that dictate our lives, Bobby.
Yeah. I don't know. There is this sort of thing where I came across this this idea that like narcissism is a spectrum and everyone has some. You know what I mean? Like we all have at the very least like low grade narcissism. It's how you don't kill yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You have to like anyone that hasn't killed themselves does think highly of themselves sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I'm like, oh, I'm not funny. And I'm like, well, that's an interesting way to feel for somebody that is trying to make it their career. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I don't actually think I'm not funny. But like, if you go too far in the other direction, then you're like insufferable.
I know.
So I felt myself becoming insufferable as I was saying, I wish everyone could walk down the sidewalk as well as I can.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's actually, it's weird because I think we're more sensitive to the insufferable part because of how much we disdain it in other people, that even if we're not even crossing into that territory of becoming that individual, we're so afraid that we're willing to torpedo probably a good point, which is you were making a good point. And I think if we're going to talk about comedy, I think it's at the behest of becoming a funnier person because we're not allowing ourselves to expand on the ideas of perhaps these people who text and walk are incorrect. Like, look at Seinfeld, right? Yeah, he's right. Imagine he's right here. He's like, look at me. Look, he's a guy who straight up, it's almost he's completely in tune with who he is as an individual, and everything operates outside of Seinfeld. That when he looks at it, he could dissect the thing that's happening to its complete core, you know. And I think it's because guys like him. But then you go, people go, like, it's funny. He just comes out with a movie, and I'm watching people get interviewed who were casts of the movie because it's coming out, so they're doing a press run, and everyone's like, "How is it working with Seinfeld?" And no one even tries to not be a polite person to somebody who paid you to be part of the biggest movie probably this year, of the comedic genius of several generations now, and every one of them is just like, oh, did you have an uncomfortable boss for a fucking summer? And now every interview you have to fucking throw shit at his dick. I don't know why that was the analogy I decided to decide.
If someone threw shit at my dick, I'd be upset.
Yeah,
I wanted to get there the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, 100%. But it annoyed me because it's like, it's all because this guy is sure of himself. And he's not willing to come down to like, oh, you feel unsure right now? Well, let me shrink down so you feel better. And now we're both stuck in this little pea pod of uncomfortable. I'm not sure of myself just so you could feel better. I'm full board. Fuck them. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I'm
so bad with words. I don't know if I can articulate my thoughts and feelings.
No, you articulated it perfectly. Like Seinfeld is very self-assured and almost never self-deprecating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he isn't.
But I think he's annoying for that. I do think like show some humility, dude. Like, and obviously he's one of the best, but like Tom Segura is kind of like this too, where he's like these other people, and yeah, maybe that's also why I lean self-deprecating, because I value that in other people. Like if someone's self-deprecating, as long as they don't overdo it, because there's a way to overdo it where like the low self-esteem comes across.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're just like, it's almost like the rhythm of jokes and you're like, well, what has to go here? And you're like, well, like, I think a comedian said every joke has a victim. And so if I'm unsure if the victim should be someone else or me, why not just make it me? You know what I mean? I'm not going to hurt my own feelings, you know?
But I think it could be both, right? Like, but you're right. Seinfeld is never the victim in his jokes. Actually, you could argue that he's a perpetual victim, and look at how much the world's affecting me.
Yeah.
You know, but he is, I guess in my head, you go, he's not humble. I've heard him actually straight up, like I think just recently he said how they dropped the ball on the Seinfeld. I mean, that's like, yeah, this is the greatest series, but we fucked up still. And you can't even deny the fact that, let's even say he's not as humble as he should be. the person that he believes that he is, he actually is. I accomplished all these things by myself. Well, not by myself in the sense that like I went from being this fucking bricklayer from Long Island to now becoming one of the greatest comedic voices of now spanning a few generations. I guess like at that point, can you just be like, all right, yeah, I am. So can you take my word for it now and shut up and now just say the thing that I wrote because I know better than you? Yeah. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I look at I have a boss. We all have bosses. And you know, I used to hate my boss. I'm like, this fucking guy, like, what does he know? Then again, I'm like, well, he's run a successful business for 15 years that paid for his family and food. So it's just like, maybe I should listen to this fucking guy, you know? I think if anything, it's the people who aren't humble enough to take, you know, someone else's guidance who isn't themselves. I don't shut the fuck up, huh, Max? Yeah. Whose podcast is this? This is the great Nick Tilleli speaking. Yeah, you shouldn't have said that from the beginning. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That is good. That is something that comes with just like getting older and being more self-reflective. Is you're like, yeah, someone that's telling me something that has more experience. It's worth listening to them. You could. Because I've had more established comedians be like, do this. And I'm like, actually, I think that is wrong. It's right for them, but it's wrong for me. But I listen, at least. You know what I mean? I think just taking the time to listen to someone. It's like that Louis joke where he says, like, if someone's older than you, even if they're wrong, the information they give you has more information. You know what I mean? They've just been around longer. Yeah. You know? So yeah, that is part of it. And you don't want to go too far in the other direction because I've had some bosses. It's funny. I think you and I are a little bit maybe on opposite ends of agreeableness. I think you're a little disagreeable and I'm a little bit agreeable, right? Maybe you're like 40% and I'm 60%, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. So I think I've had the opposite thing where I've had bad bosses and I'm like, well, he's the boss. And then after a while, I'm like, oh, he actually, I think, does have some kind of personality disorder. You know what I mean?
But I also go, that's what it takes to be a boss. It's like, you need to be fucked up. I've never had a boss who's not had some type of like, you know, their head hasn't been on like properly. But when I think about, if I were to have any empathy for them, I think about my own life, right? Like we juggle a lot of shit and then you take it out on the person who's kind of near you and you're like, this guy's fucking psychotic. And now think about that, but this is what's supporting your family. Like that would make me a little fucked up too. But I'm not saying that you're wrong. I think, you know, I just I disagree.
Well,
no, I don't.
No, I see what you're saying. I think it's a balance. I think most people are oriented somewhere where they either have to. Most people are they have to look at themselves with a little more humility, or they have to look at themselves with a little more confidence. Yeah. Most people are not, or a lot of people, I should say, are not balanced. They lean one way or the other. You know, it's almost like some people maybe should be a little more extroverted and some people should maybe be more comfortable being alone. You know, it's all this like balance that we're trying to strike.
I think that's true too, because I like even what it takes to do comedy, like the kind of there has to be some delusion involved to back your confidence. Right. And when I think about balance, it's like, okay, so I had to be this guy, which made me like, I had to have this wild delusional confidence, but that to allow myself to step on stage and perform the things that I wrote down. But that doesn't keep me balanced. Having that doesn't keep me a balanced individual in the regular life, because I needed to lift myself up to here just to say these things. And now I'm at the bank being very uncooperative. You know what I mean? So but so you're right. There is a balance, but it's so hard to constantly gauge as you get higher in life, because there's different personality traits that are required for you to have these things that we think that we need. But you know,
my thing that because I do lean more agreeable, and I think that has been decreasing both with age and the industry that I work in and the city I live in. You know what I mean? But a thing I've been trying is like, this is gonna sound so silly, like assertiveness with a smile. You
I
know?
like that.
Yeah, like oh hey man, I'm online. Like it's not a big deal. You probably assume it was an accident, but like I'm actually next online. You know what I mean?
Can I ask you something though? What's in your head at that moment? Are you in this joyous mood? Or are you like, this motherfucker? Hey, I'm online.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the former because I do think more often than not, someone's just in their own head. Like I think most people, unless they've leaned into, there's a certain type of person that leans into being an asshole, but unless they're that person, they probably couldn't help doing what they did. They're thinking about something else or they're in a hurry. So I just, they were also, for me, everyone's destined to be the person they currently are. No one like chose their parents or their own brain chemistry or 1,000 other things, So it's just like, I think sometimes it's just like not taking it personally, Like if they cut me online, this is a silly example, but if they purposely cut me when I'm in line or in the queue for international listeners, it's either, if they're doing it on purpose, they would either do it to anybody. But even if they like sized me up and they're like, this guy with the small shoulders isn't going to do anything, that's a them thing still. You know what I mean? Because they see the world as an adversarial place in which they need to cut people in line. Their life probably isn't as nice as mine is anyway. You know what I mean? So why ruin my day with being all pissed off about it?
Yeah, I feel the same way, actually, believe it or not. I like, there's people who, I have an example. Someone I saw last night had a ridiculous haircut, and but like it's such a wild haircut to take place where they shaved the side of their head and then like shaved ice picks into it.
Okay,
but they wore it confidently. Everyone knows that it's not a great like decision, but I just go, hey man, great, love the haircut. Thanks, dude, because it's already like.
Yeah.
And then someone else in that party was just like, oh, yeah, I bet you did compliment him because you're fake. And it's like, no, it's just nothing I say is going to make like he already like, you know what I mean? That's such a wild choice that me saying, I don't really like that isn't going to make him go, oh, should I change it then? He doesn't give a fuck. My opinion. So it's like, so I agree with you where I think as I've gotten older, maybe when I was a kid, I was more abrasive and like be, kind of a dick to people. Thinking maybe in like some diluted way, my own delusional self think that I was helping. Yeah. But it is, you're right, where it's just like, this person is living their life exactly. Nothing I say, or I don't need to intervene. There's no reason. It doesn't benefit me in any way. Like, is my life going to change if listen, dude, we need to talk. Yeah. I can't be around you anymore until that. It doesn't make a difference in my life whatsoever. So I think that's a fair. I think it's the correct way. I hope anyway to look at how people are. Like, all right, that's just the way they're going to view it, and however that's going to set their own life up for them. Not me.
Yeah. So are you a morning person or a night person?
I'm a morning person. Believe it or not.
Really? Okay, that's a minority among comedians.
Yeah.
Have you always been a morning person?
Yeah, because I hated being in my house so much that I was excited to wake up and go to school. Not for like, I just was excited to see my friends and hang out. So I was always up.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I don't know, my mom always woke up early and was getting things done. And we lived in such a small space that like if she was up, we're up now, And so I've grown accustomed to that. And then I'm like that now too. I woke up at like, I think it was like 7:45 today, and I went to bed at like 2, and I was like ready to go. I've always been that way. I like having a full day ahead of me. I can get as much done as I possibly can. You?
Yeah, I'm naturally a morning person, but it's hard with comedy. You know what I mean? I'm someone that needs sleep, so if I'm out late, I need at least my 7 hours. I feel like people who can function on less than 7 hours of sleep per night are like superheroes to me. I can't believe it. The way that they're able to function. But if comedy shows, if the average comedy show started at 5 p.m., I would definitely be awake at like 7 a.m.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't know. I'm still trying to like, I was on tour 2 weeks ago, and I got back a few days ago, and I'm still like trying to fix my sleep schedule. I've been on 2 tours, and now I understand why musicians, comedians, people that travel for work get addicted to drugs.
Oh yeah.
And that's a hard stop for me. Like if I can't fall asleep, I just jack off until I can. You know what I mean? Which is hard when you're sharing a hotel room with somebody. You're like, wow, this guy takes a lot of showers.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just running the water, watching porn on my phone, jacking off into the toilet.
Yeah.
Comedians, guys. What a great life, huh? But
well, don't say it's just you. You know, like not comedians. it's Bobby Sheehan.
That was projection, right? I'm like, we're all doing that.
Yeah.
We're all
right, guys.
Dude, it was so funny. So we have a mutual friend of ours that lives in Tennessee. His name's Jeff. And we're gonna have Jeff on the podcast, but he's like an older gay guy, right? And he's very nice. That if you are doing spots in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and you're a comedian who knows, he'll give you the guest room in his apartment, and you got to do some stuff to make that work out. But it's you were not co-signing that gay joke at all,
because I kind of agreed with it.
But I remember one time it was me and another comedian, Andrew Casertano, who's very funny, and when we walked into the apartment, he was like, guys. A friend of mine says, well, you have a lot of male comedians that come in. I'm sure there's a lot of like wild parties, drinking, drugs, girls. And it's just me and Andrew Casertano. Like I'm doing push-ups on the floor, like making sure I eat all my vegetables so I have my vitamins so I could perform well that night. You know, it's just like the idea of like what someone's life could be and what it actually is very funny to me. And I know there are like rock star comedians, but I'm actually not one of them.
No, I 100% agree. But that's also why I like getting up early. I think that sets the good tone for my day to have good sets, And it's funny. I think I got into comedy thinking I'd want to be like a rock star comedian, but the total opposite happened. I became very into just like wellness. I quit drinking for like a year and a half just cause. Hold on, sorry.
We're getting a call from a listener.
Yep.
Yeah, this is Bill from Pennsylvania, Reading, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I too jerk off in the bathroom with my friends in the room. Yeah, you're not alone, Bobo. Thanks, Bill. Yeah, sorry, that was
your agent.
Yes. He said get off immediately.
Yeah. He's like, why are you wasting your time talking to this guy? Yeah, I don't know. So you've always been a morning person, and you described the house that you grew up in as being very small. So if your mom was awake, the house was so small that just everybody would be awake. And you have siblings?
No.
Oh, you're an only child. I'm also an only child. Damn, that's crazy.
Hell yeah.
That's we've been friends for years, and I just learned this about you. Are people surprised that you are quote unquote normal despite being an only child?
My girlfriend has moments where she goes, like something will happen and she'll just come into my face and go, and that's how I know you're an only child.
Oh, yikes. Okay.
Yeah.
What sort of, do you remember an example?
Just that I don't have much empathy for people.
That's such a funny thing to say. It's like a little personality quirk.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't have much
weird thing, where I just don't share feelings for other people. But no, but she will say this. She says also for a person who's that never grew up with siblings, like I tease her, like I always fuck with her any way possible. As if I had siblings growing up.
Right.
But as for things that I don't really do, I don't know. It's such small things. Like it's funny. Okay, this is a good example. Like I don't understand. Like her brother, we were all at the dinner one night. Her brother's a great guy. He's a lawyer and very like personable dude. And he just likes to give, right? And one night we're all out to dinner and he's like, he comes to me and my girlfriend, hey, don't worry, I'll pay for your guys' Uber tonight. And I'm like, what do you think? I can't pay for my own fucking Uber?
Yeah.
You know? And I got so, I didn't, not in that moment. I was just like, thank you. But in the car, I'm like, I'll pay for your Uber. I was like, who the fuck does this guy? And then it like, she needs to explain. She's like, well, he's my older brother and he likes to take care of his younger siblings. And it wasn't a slight against you, which also makes me feel like, man, that's some crazy narcissism in my head too. Where I'm like, is this like a polite gesture? And I'm almost like, you think I'm broke?
Yeah. What's the angle?
What's the angle? Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what, are you trying to be big in front of the table? It's like, well, this is my family. I'm already kind of the best guy here. So it's like, do you want to look like an asshole is the question. So there's instances like that where I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of makes a lot of sense. I'm a very defensive person. And I think that's also from not growing up with siblings where I don't know if you feel this way, where, you know, I don't know. I actually think no, because, you know, I grew up with cousins and like, I know everyone's like, oh, it's not the same as a sibling, but there were just months where I would just live with my cousins and I would just be with them. So I'm very like, the guy who just called was my cousin. He's like my closest relative of all. So it's weird. There's some instances where I have it and then some instances where it doesn't really come out. But what would indicate an only child in your experience?
Oh, I don't know. I think I do value alone time.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And that's just, it's because it's what you're used to. You know what I mean? Because it was just me and my parents. And when I was younger, my dad worked a lot. And so a lot of times it would be, you know, just hanging out in my basement, playing video games, watch TV. I think that's how I got, my good friend of mine jokes that if Bobby likes something, he has to learn everything about it, you know, because I have like a fandom orientation. Like I'm a Eminem stan. I know everything about, you know, him, Green Day, Louis C.K. If I like something, I know everything about them. And I think that's just, I came of age being alone and with the internet. And things could have gone much worse with that combination. But it's just, yeah, I think, and I'm single now, and I have been in relationships that's been like a point of contention because I always want more alone time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, relationship is about compromise, but it must feel weird. Like I have empathy for my exes because they'd be like, can we hang out this day and this day? I'm like, I could do one of those days. The other day, I kind of need to work out, do open mics, maybe watch a movie I've already seen a bunch of times.
Yeah. No, I totally, my girlfriend, I give her a lot of credit because she gives me a lot of grace in that area. She's like, okay, like, you know, if I wake up in the morning, I like to have a ritual of the things that I do. And if she wakes up and is like, and it fucks up everything. And that's how I feel about it. And so I try not to because I'm like, I love her. Yeah. But like she could feel like, all right, I guess you want me gone. And then she'll leave the house for like an hour or two so I can get acclimated to myself.
Okay.
I know. But it's also, you know, did you ever feel like you wanted brothers and sisters growing up?
I don't know. Because I have friends that, you know, they feel like they're not the favorite. I had a friend tell me that he was like, parents say they don't have favorites, but they do. They all have a favorite, you know? I know, I mean, both my parents are one of 8.
Wow.
Yeah. And I feel like.
Mine too, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny.
Damn. Yeah. And so I think I wasn't smothered though as a child. I wasn't, you know, obviously because I'm still alive, but I wasn't literally smothered.
Yeah, I had siblings, but I just wasn't smothered.
I think my parents tried really hard because the plan wasn't just to have one, but that's the way they worked out. So I think they were like, I don't know, like my mom made me get a job right when it was legal for me to work in New York State. In New York State, you have to be 14, and literally on the day after my 14th birthday, she was like, all right, well, there's a coffee shop in town. You got to apply. And, you know, that was sort of to be like, you're going to do normal things, you know? So that's, I think I was pushed into sport. God bless my parents. They pushed me into sports, you know, before they realized, you know, how unathletic I am. So they're like, he needs to be, yeah. Yeah, dude, I should have played football. I could wear pads at any time. Yeah, man. I mean, I think I turned out more or less all right. I think we turned out fine for being only children.
Yeah, I don't know many only children who like a lot of I can't point one out. Like Oh, that makes you seem like an only child. I don't know. And also, I feel like doing comedy, you run against so many crazier personalities that like I'm not concerned about meeting someone who's an only child. You know.
So Nick, if people wanted to DM you asking about maybe shoulder exercises advice, how would they be able to do that?
My Instagram at Nick Tilleli, NickTilleli.
Hell yeah, guys. Follow Nick on Instagram. And remember, folks, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. I'm just playing night owls. You know I love you.
Thank you.